say.
Hello everybody, this is RJ. We are now level 2. That means you can go out and enjoy. Got a lot of living to do. Take note, we are reopening Bistro RJ for customers Valentine's night. You don't have to stay home all the time. Get out there and enjoy. We'll put together a great Valentine's show for you. 2 shows back to back. Elvis, got a lot of living to do, and disco dancing in one night. February 14, Monday. We have 2 reservation packages for your convenience. If you only want entrance and 1 drink, you pay 1,000 pesos only. If you want entrance with 2 drinks with a steak dinner, you pay 2,000 pesos. For Valentine's night, Bistro RJ opens early, 6 p.m. Dinner starts at 7 p.m. The Elvis show starts at 8 p.m. 4 Elvises. Douglas Masuda, Elvis of Japan. Bam Angping, runner-up Elvis of Asia. Noni Yambao, Elvis of the Philippines. And I will also pay tribute to Elvis. Right after the Elvis show, disco dancing. Dance to some Bee Gees, Frankie Valli, Earth, Wind and Fire, and ABBA music. We have young guest singers from the Roaring Twenties band, Pea Munhi. So get out of your house and enjoy this Valentine's and celebrate life. With our Valentine's special, 2 back-to-back shows. Elvis night, back-to-back with disco dancing. Wear your Nick shirts. Of course, bring your vaccination card. On February 14, Monday, make your reservations right now. Call or text 0906-221-1524 or go to facebook.com/RJ Bistro and Messenger RJ Bistro. By the way, we're gonna give you a free rose. This is RJ saying, see you Valentine's special, RJ Bistro at Dusit Thane Hotel. So call 0906-221-1524. I repeat, 0906-221-1524. Right now.
You are watching the multi-awarded Radio Bandido TV on Channel 224 Sky Cable and TV Plus boxes. Simulcast on DZRJ 8:10 a.m. Informing, advising, and entertaining the Filipinos and OFWs around the world. Streaming live on www.facebook.com/DZRJ 8:10 a.m. or on YouTube, channel RJAM News. To all Teleradio Bandido viewers and listeners, you can now watch Teleradio Bandido on our new YouTube channel, RJAM News. Hit the subscribe button and like the video. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified when a new video gets uploaded. Don't miss out on our dynamite lineup. Chit Chat with Double V with host Vivian Velez is a program that breaks down important national concerns, events, and stories, featuring newsmaker interviews and compelling features to add context, clarity, and answer the questions on your mind. Every Sunday from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. on Teleradio Bandido TV, Channel 224 Sky Cable, TV Plus boxes, GMA Afforda Box, Easy Box, and all DTT boxes. Simulcast on DZRJ 8:10 a.m. Seen on Facebook/DZRJ 8:10 a.m. and YouTube channel RJAM News.
Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, this is Vivian Velez po, and you are listening and watching to DZRJ 8:10 a.m. Teleradio. At syempre po, kasama ko this afternoon, the gorgeous, my co-anchor, Arlene Escalante. Hi, Arlene!
Oh, hi, Miss Bibi, and good afternoon sa lahat po na ating tagapakinig, taga-subaybay dito po sa Chit Chat with Double V. Sis, fresh na fresh ka naman. Ba't ganyan? Ba't ang ganda-ganda mo?
Hindi nga eh.
Ano ba?
Hindi nga ako naghanda ngayon kasi may special guest tayo.
Ganun ba? Medyo hindi ka naganda.
Oo. Well, hindi na natin to patatagalin kasi
Yes.
marami tayong gustong itackle, with him. Do you want to do the honors of introducing him or should I?
Of course. Our guest today, this afternoon po, is the Director of the Legal Affairs of the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples or NCIP. Siya din po ang isa sa mga spokespersons ng National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict or NTFL. At sis, baka hindi mo pa nababalita, tumatakbo din siyang congressman under po ng IP's Epanaw Party List. Ladies and gentlemen, mga kababayan ko, Attorney Marlon Bosantog.
Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. It is going to be my pleasure and it's my privilege to be here today sa iyong programa po ngayon, ma'ams. Clarification lang, hindi na po ako current na
Former, no?
Kasi nag-file tayo. So hindi po na tayo nasa NCIP.
Oo, because you're running under IP's Epanaw. This is the party list. Ngayon, tatanungin ko, Attorney Marlon, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Ang unang tanong ko, because I know for a fact na itong IP's Epanaw was denied by the COMELEC. So how is the standing of the party list right now?
It was denied by the COMELEC on a very menial reason, very forgettable reason, but we were able to obtain from the Supreme Court TRO or temporary restraining order at pinapasama po tayo sa ballot, and as of the final ballot po, nakasama po tayo sa ballot po ng COMELEC, so there is no more hindrance for us to run and represent our indigenous peoples po, ma'am.
Okay, what I know is that alam ko yung balota, number 171, tama po ba?
Yes, ma'am. 171 po IPC Pana po.
Oh, yun ba yung last number sa mga party list?
Hindi po, ma'am. Nadagdagan po siya. There are some parties who were able to get TRO also. Kaya hanggang 178 po tayo ngayon, ma'am.
Wow.
Also 178. Well, we have to remember that 171. Attorney, siguro magko-commercial lang ako ng konti dito sa akin, because I'm a proud owner actually of this book series. Ito po yung book series ng Project Epanaw, Attorney Marlon Bosantog. Papakita ko lang. Alam mo, marami po akong coffee table books. Pero ito ang nasa ibabaw ng aking coffee table
Wow.
ngayon. Ito yan, Ayan.
Wow.
Ang laki-laki niya. Tsaka, this is 3-book series. Ito
Yes,
ang ito ang nasa coffee table ko ngayon, and I'm a proud owner of this one. At saka Arlene, 3 book series po yan, yung pagkilala, paggalang, at pagtaguyod. So ito yung 3 book series na ganyang kakapal, and it's so beautiful. All the photos and napakaganda po. And so it's a must for everyone to really get a hold of this book series. So tapos na yung commercial ko.
Meron akong trivia dyan, sis. May trivia.
Okay, go ahead.
I was actually, baka hindi nga to alam ni Attorney Marlon, but I was actually part of that project last year, Epanaw. Kaso, hindi pa ako nakakuha ng copy. Kaya ikaw pa ang mas nauna.
No, I really made a point. I knew about this because when I was reading...
Sige, ma'am. Duly noted. Bigyan natin ng paraan yan.
Ay, salamat. Ganda,
I
nagkaka-guest tayo ng ganito, sis.
Oh, wow. Really, it's a treasure. It's really a treasure to have one of these books. Kasi talagang napakaganda niya. And, before we really... May 1 hour and a half naman tayo, attorney. So, I really want our listeners, to parang natin kung anong ibig sabihin ng Epanaw. Because this is IP's Epanaw. So we want them to, let's educate them somehow because marami pong hindi nakakaalam kung anong ibig sabihin ng Epanaw.
Yes, ma'am. Maraming salamat, ma'am. Ang Epanaw po is a Manobo term for journey for Panau, no? Ipanau, meaning it's going to be the journey of the indigenous peoples. As you can see po dyan sa sa tatlong books na yan, yung paggalang, pagkilala, no? For us to be to walk this journey for the recognition of our rights, no, for the protection of our ancestral domain, for the promotion of our cultures. Kasi kung makita mo yung pangatlong book, ma'am, you can see Coron, you can see Sagada, Baguio,
Yes,
but
lahat.
not a lot of people knew that these are ancestral domains. And what we want is to promote them hand in hand, making our IPs partners in development. Kasi kung tingnan po natin ang Boracay, Boracay is an ancestral domain po ng mga kapatid nating Ati. But when development came in, they were pushed to Kalibo. And of all the pieces of land na natira sa kanila, mga 2 hectares lang po yung natira. Kung hindi pa dumating si President Duterte, baka totally mawawala sa kanila yung mga lupa. So this is part of the advocacy of the IPC Panau to make our IPs partners in development and for the protection ng kanilang mga ancestral domain. So one of our primary goal is mabigyan lang land title lahat mga areas po na nakikita niyo, ma'am, dyan sa mga areas na yan.
Correct.
And regarding culture, for the protection of those cultural manifestation, kasi alam mo, yung mga damit nila, mga designs nila, it's
Correct.
getting commercialized it's getting
Correct.
sold to commerce, but bakit wala man lang sense of respect sa mga may-ari ng designs na to, colors na ito, and then wala man ng royalty, in a sense na gamitin mo siya sa business. So these are the advocacies po ng IPC Panau. But central to our advocacy, as you know, will be peace and order.
Okay.
80% po na nag-surrender na CPP-NPA sa Mindanao, ma'am, IPs po. Sila po yung laging natatamaan ng giyera. Most of their ancestral domains are guerrilla bases of the CPP-NPA NDF. And that's what we want to, for the nation to know, that there could be the possibility of peace if we look a little bit closer to the ancestral domain, if we could make the IPs partners in our developmental efforts. I do believe that we can attend this peace, even probably within the administration or the next administration po.
Oh, well, Attorney Marlon, you know why it is important sa akin yun, Arlene, why it is important for people to know, lalo-lalo na ang inyong party list is IPs Panau, no? Because as you were saying, Attorney Marlon, if I can call you only Attorney Marlon, no?
Marlon na lang po, Marlon po.
Kasi Panau, it's a journey, no? And while I was really reading the books, itong journey ito, when did it start? Kasi when you say Ipanau, and when we say the journey, before we can really get into the 2022 or the 21st century of that journey, gusto ko kasing malaman kung kailan talaga ito nag-start and why are we doing it? Why are we doing this journey? I mean, as you were saying kanina, meron ka na nga mga sinabi, tidbits on why we are doing it, but more or less, really, for people to really know the sentiment, yung talagang value and sentiment of the people. Kasi marami po, lalo na yung mga ancestral domain, a lot of people does not understand that ancestral domain is parang a holy land, di ba? Parang it is a land that it is not like, parang tayo ngayon, Arlene, di ba? Meron tayong lupa, bibilihin natin yung lupa natin, titutuluhan, parang ganun lang. But then the ancestral land, when you talk about ancestral land, it is something sacred. Di ba, Attorney Marlon? Oo.
I think that's a very good question kung kailan nagsimula ang journey ng ancestral, ng mga indigenous peoples. And makikita po natin yan, ma'am, kung saan yung sinabi niyo yung sacredness po ng ancestral domain natin. Ancestral domain is defined as the land in possession of the IPs since time immemorial or as far as human memory goes. So I think the definition of where we started our journey is as far as memory goes. And during the time of the Spanish colonization, we were pushed to hinterlands. During the time of the American period, our lands were taken away from us. We had been fighting for it. During the time na nandito po yung Spanish colonization, ang konsepto po lahat ng lupa sa Pilipinas is under what they call the Regalian Doctrine, meaning all land belongs to the King of Spain. In 1903, 1907, we started fighting for the formal recognition. Lumabas po ang konsepto ng native title, no? Diyan po nag-file po ang isang igorot sa US Supreme Court. But it took us until 1987 under the present constitution kung saan yung recognition ng rights ng mga IPs. And it took again another 10 years bago po napanday ang Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act of 1997, and took another 4 years before we start the formal processing of the lands of the indigenous peoples. So at this point, we were able to title around 5 million hectares of the ancestral domain. We have 10 million more to go. And I think that will be the continuation of the journey of the indigenous peoples. Kasi tama po yung sinabi niyo, it is not only sacred. Kaya nga po, ang ancestral domain is the only kind of land ownership na hindi pwedeng ibenta. Because the IPs today are just simply called the stewards of the land. We have to preserve that for the future generation. Kaya bawal pong ibenta ang ancestral domain.
Okay, well, that. Ang ganda nun, Attorney Marlon, because it's really a lot of people really doesn't understand, no, the value and why. I mean, like you yourself is really doing this kasi kailangan talagang lalo na ang ating mga kabataan ngayon, di ba, Attorney Marlon? I mean, di ba, Arlene?
Yeah.
I mean, they won't even understand on what is really, not unless na talagang yung mga nag-advocacy neto is really, putting it out there and saying na talagang kung gaano ka-importante ito at kung saan ito nagmumula. Kasi napaka-importante nun dahil, we cannot even talk about issues at this time, di ba, Attorney Marlon, unless people understand where we're coming from. So, yan ang kaya ko talaga pina-explain kay Attorney Marlon kung talagang paano at bakit natin ginagawa ito. So, going back, of course, Attorney Marlon, I want to know, because you are a nominee, because of the party list is, alam mo naman dito sa election na ito, di ba, Attorney Marlon, kung sino ang sikat, kung sino ang may pera, kung sino ang artista, yung mga ganyan ba? We want to get to know you, saan ka ba, saan ka bang, do you belong to any tribe or do you belong to ano bang iyong make-up?
Yes, ma'am. Ang sa IPs Ipanao po, it is the first genuine and truly unified IP party list representing the entire country, no? Ang una po naming nominee is si Attorney Dasay Lingating, isa pong tribal leaders na former chairperson ng NCIP, Tribong Subanen mula sa Zamboanga Peninsula. Ako po, ma'am, isa po akong Tribong Igorot, ang tawag po sa amin Kankanay, ma'am, full-blooded po kami, mula po sa Northern Luzon or sa Cordilleras. Ang pangatlo po nating nominee, ma'am, galing po sa Central Visayas, and representing the island groups of that particular area, isa pang Coralano, isa pang babae, ma'am, tribal leader na babae, na youth leader po ng area. Ang number 4 nominee po namin, former commissioner ng NCIP din po, Agta galing po ng Bukidnon, Quezon area. At ang panglima, ma'am, isa pong Manobo. So ako po bilang nagrepresenta sa Northern Luzon, I represent my people of the Cordillerans or the Cordillera, and I was a former state solicitor for 10 years sa Office of the Solicitor General, and then was the regional director for Region 13 in CAR for NCIP, naging bureau director for legal affairs then, and then for a time being spokesperson for the indigenous peoples under NTF-LCAC, ma'am.
And how old are you, Attorney Marlon, if I might ask?
I'm 37 po, ma'am.
Wow, batang-bata, no, Arlene? And I think
mukhang artista si Attorney Marlon, ha?
but it's very important in a way because his age somehow will represent, kasi di ba, Attorney Marlon, ang ating voters ngayon, 55% are coming from that kind of age, di ba? Yung the youth,
Yes.
no?
Yes, ma'am.
Oo.
Millennial.
Oo. So, I think, yeah, di ba, Arlene?
Oo. Sis, meron akong
yes.
follow-up question kasi may
Sige,
nabanggit
sige.
si Attorney Marlon na sinabi niya, this is the first genuine
Yes.
party list for the indigenous peoples. Kasi yun din ang iniisip ko. Bakit noon ba walang nagre-represent sa why did you say that, Attorney?
Kasi simula lang po kasi ng party list natin, especially starting in 2001, 2004, wala po talagang nananalo na party list representing the interest of the whole IPs in the country. May nanalo po noon, but I think regional based lang siya, and I think on very specific issue pa lang siya, no? May isang tumakbo po noon na nagsasabi na kami ay membro ng tribo, no? Si Congressman Kuliamat, for example. I'm here po kasi ma'am sa Surigao Sur ngayon. We are launching our party list, and I'm quite happy to tell you that yung mga leaders natin dito na nangampanya para sa Bayan Muna ay nangangampanya now against Bayan Muna and trying to ikampanya ang ating party list kasi ang tribo daw, no? Kasi si Congressman Kuliamat ay Manobo. Pero ang sabi nila, ang congressman na yan tinulungan namin, pero ni isang tulong walang bumalik sa tribo. So I think this is part of the struggles of the indigenous peoples. A lot of parties would like to use the word IP, no? It gives them a certain degree of authenticity, wholeness probably, but whether they know the heart, the soul, the mind, the sacredness of the land of the IP, of the IP groups, I don't think that there is a truly unified IP list that run representing our sector, ma'am.
Okay. Well, that's okay. But then, siguro nandiyan na rin naman tayo, no? Maybe we can really get into it deeper, no? Ano po ba ang mga plataforma? Meron na po ba tayong platforms for this?
Yes. Unang-una po is it's our dream to come up with a Department of Indigenous Peoples. Bakit po? Opo.
Yeah.
Kasi halimbawa, we start with our struggle sa aming lupa, ma'am.
Yes.
It took us years and decades before we are recognized as landowners. But until now, kahit po nabigyan ng tituluyan, there's a lot of intentions to remove it from us, to have IPRA abolished,
Yes.
to have the land titling not recognized, no? Especially yung concept ng native title. It needs a continuous protection. Halimbawa po, mag-apply kami ng 2003, 2004 noon. It took us around 20 years para mabigyan kami ng formal recognition ng government because there is no actual, desire to help us, no, have this particular areas titled. Alam po niyo kasi ma'am, yung mga areas ng IPs, you can see the center of big industries like banana plantation, like pineapple plantation, mining, hydro, cultural areas, and ecotourism areas, and people find it inconvenient when they try to engage with the IPs, when they conduct what they call the free, prior, and informed consent. They just want it to be done cavalierly, no? Parang so I think that those particular areas is something that we would like to put into law, to put into something that has may ngipin po ba na pag sinuway mo to, pwede kang kasuhan, at kung kakasuhan ka, may grave consequences. Also, ma'am, kami po kasi mga IPs, we compose around 18 million of the total population of the country. But ang NCIP po, nangangalaga lang po ng 8,000 na scholars. And we know naman po ma'am, education remains to be the great equalizer. And I do hope in what I see, there could be a chance for us to develop if given the chance also to have our children, our brothers and sisters be educated in quality schools. Ngayon po ma'am, kahit sabihin mong free yung tuition ng mga
State colleges.
But
universities.
you have to graduate high school. But before you graduate high school, you have to graduate elementary. And this particular opportunities with our elementary and high school is something that we are still fighting for. Kahit man sila makagraduate, ma'am, kumuha ng mga vocational, kahit makagraduate kami ng college, ito ang katotohanan lang po. Mababa po ang passing rate namin when it comes to PRC examinations. So, maybe quality education is something that we would like to fight for. Kasi alam niyo yung nangyari dito ma'am sa Mindanao po, di ba? Naglagay sila ng more than 100 salugpungan schools, mga schools na mga NPA, kung saan nag-aral mostly yung mga children ng indigenous peoples na walang accreditation ng DepEd. This form of exploitation is something in a way allowed by the government. Kung hindi po nagsalita yung mga IPs, hindi po makikita yung mga ganyang exploitation to us, no? As early as 2008 po, doon lang po nasira yung mga ibang eskwelahan. So it's part of the advocacy of IPs Ipanao to look and sustain quality education for the IP children. And of course, when it comes to development of the ancestral domain, dapat po partners po kami. Hindi lang po kami binibigyan ng konting relief operations, yun na po yun. We want to talk sa table. Give us the opportunity to have dialogue with you and tell you this is what is important to us. Ma'am, yung mga countries po like New Zealand, like Japan, even Europe, much of them are culturally based sa kanilang mga tourism activities, and it's what is sustaining this particular countries. New Zealand, for example, mga 20% of their GDP comes from tourism activities. And what do we offer, ma'am? In the Philippines, we offer El Nido, Coron, Boracay, Sagada, Mount Apo, Mount Pulag. All of these areas, ma'am po, ancestral domain. But where are we when it comes to development? Where are we when it comes to the promotion of these particular areas? Parang kami po yung nawawala. So we hope sa IPs Ipanao to bring to the table the voices of the indigenous peoples.
Well, you mentioned attorney yung department, no, that is going to be a department at kasi alam natin, di ba, Arlene, kakapasok lang ng Department of Migrant Workers, di ba? And so in fact, alam naman natin na may OFWs and how important this is, na talagang pinaglaban din nila ito. Then the inspiration came from that, or mas nauna pa ang ang gusto nyong advocacy? Mas nauna pa dito?
Marami pong nag-attempt din po na magkaroon ng Department of Indigenous Peoples. In fact, it was one of the bills that was filed by Governor Nancy Catamuco, no? Who is also an IP, pero it never gained traction po sa Congress. Ang sa amin lang naman po, we have the NCIP. You just have to transfer it, make it a department of the government. Kasi ang nangyayari po sa NCIP, we are just put into different agencies. We do not have the opportunity to fight for our own budget. For example, right now, we are under this WD. But if we are a department, then we can formulate our own budget, we can defend our own budget, and we can dictate the direction where the indigenous concerns will be going.
And you will be part of the cabinet because as a secretary level, as a department holding like that, I mean, merong ganon. So kung may secretary na kayo dito sa cabinet, no, every time that there's going to be a cabinet meeting, direct mong masasabi kung ano yung mga kailangan. So this is really very important. Why did I mention this is because siguro kasi ang OFW brings in the money. You know what I'm saying? Kasi parang nauna sila because as you were saying, ang OFW kasi nagdadala ng pera. But then para sa akin kasi mas importante itong indigenous people para sa akin because because they're more being marginalized, no, at this point na talagang sinabi mo rin, Attorney Marlon, I was surprised when you said it, na 18 million pala kayo?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, 18 million. And ang dami nun, di ba? And how many are the registered voters? Do you know how many registered voters?
Hindi ko makuha, ma'am, kasi parang ngayon lang po sila nagkaroon ng voters registration for you identified whether you're IP or not IP po. So, at this point, parang I cannot give a rough figure po, ma'am, kung ilan yung voters ng IPs.
But just imagine, sis, attorney, if only 5% from the IPs will vote for IPs Ipanao, edi panalo na kagad. Meron na kagad seat sa Congress at marirepresent ng ating indigenous peoples.
That's why I got really curious, when he said 18 million, because more or less we can do the math.
Yes.
And somehow, we will know, somehow we will know the standing at of this time. No? So, aside from, of course, that one of that would be the department. No? Definitely, it compasses almost everything that you will be needing, no, under yung sa IPs, no. But ang ano kasi ng iyong party list is IPs, means peace katahimikan, di ba?
Yeah.
IPs. Oo. So, alam na natin yung Ipanao, kung anong ibig po sabihin ng Ipanao, and that journey that we need to take also, no, with them, no. And bakit peace? Bakit IPs? Why is it peace?
Actually, it's an acronym for Indigenous Peoples Advocacy for Cultural Empowerment, no. But of course, it's also a play of words for the word peace, because most of the leaders of IPs Ipanao had been in the forefront of the struggles for peace in Mindanao. Yes. Many of our leaders are actually fighting against the intrusion of the CPP-NPA. In fact, some of them were former members and now trying to reclaim what belongs to the indigenous people. So it's more of a ploy forward that aside from this journey, it's a journey of peace for the indigenous peoples.
Correct. Well, kasi I think, the little that I know, Attorney Arlene, is when we talk about indigenous people, napapag-usapan din na they are the most, yung injustice, no? Na talagang, kumbaga, what do you call that, Arlene? Yung talagang, kumbaga, sila na yung pinaka...
Aping-api.
Oo. Di ba? Yung ba yung Tagalog na talagang aping-api na... Hindi. But not only that. We talk about the NPAs. We talk about this NPA. Sila kasi po ang namumundok, di ba, Attorney Marlon? As little as I know, sila yung namumundok, sila yung pumupunta sa bundok, at sino nakakasalamuhan nila doon, di ba? Somehow, would be the people, the indigenous people, and they get exploded, di ba? And exploded, no? So, how is that? How is it now? Is it still the same? Is it, paano yun, Attorney Marlon? Talamak pa rin po ba?
Yes, ma'am. It is sad to note that many still in the armed movement ng CPP-NPA are mga IPs po natin, and because of variety of reasons, no. Especially nung wala po yung mga IPRA na yan, we had been fighting for our land. We had been treated as squatters of our own land. That compelled many of our leaders, no, to take arms against the government. Ngayon, meron na po tayong mga mechanism in order to address those concerns. Yung tinatarget na naman nila ngayon yung mga social issues against indigenous peoples. Halimbawa, kawalan ng basic social services. Minsan kasi wala kang... Ma'am, ang totoo lang kasi dito, pag nasa bundok ka at lagi kang daanan ng NPA, sometimes you have no choice, no? Pag sinabi lang, maging runner ka namin, maging runner ka nila. Pag sinabi lang mag-recruit sila sa loob, magre-recruit sila sa loob, mag-indoctrinate sila sa loob, wala kang choice, ma'am. Kasi di ba ang tawag nga ang tactic ng NPA dyan, kill one, terrorize 1,000. So papatay sila ng isang tribal leader, harap-harapan, in the open, brutally. Tatahimik na yung ibang leaders, no? And then that will be their opportunity to come in and radicalize members of the indigenous peoples. So ngayon, ang ginagawa natin, thank you for the efforts of the NTF LCAC, bringing in the Barangay Development Fund, bringing in a good, doon sa ECLIP program niya, marami pong napapa-uwi ng mga indigenous peoples, nagsusurrender sila. And now some of them are leading the fight against the CPP, NPA, and DF. So it's not that bleak news after all. Sabi ko nga po, if it's going to be a journey, at least there is light at the end of the tunnel for us right now. May mga programs ng government bringing basic services sa mga areas that has been forgotten for quite a while. Naintindihan po natin ang gobyerno noon hindi makapasok kasi pagpapasok sila susunugin yung equipment, no? I-ambush yung mga trupa natin. So, but right now, maganda po yung engagement ng mga elders natin, mga traditional leaders natin sa mga areas. They are going back and then being partners of the AFP, no, and then the PNP in bringing forth peace and development in our ancestral domain, ma'am.
Okay, ang follow-up ko lang doon, Attorney Margaret, because we know for a fact that there's going to be, nagkaroon tayo ng mga interview, no, doon sa ating mga presidential polls. And one of the questions was, are you willing to have that peace talks, diba, with the NPA, with the CPP, NPA, and the F? And most of our presidential polls said yes. What is your take on this?
Teka. May
sige.
naalala akong may isang merong blooper dyan. And I think Attorney Marlon already reacted to it quite diplomatically. Yung merong isang presidential ball na, ewan ko kung nakaligtaw sa kaguluhan ng kanyang pag-isip, sinabi na parang ang eyepiece ay hindi mga Pilipino.
Hindi Pilipino?
Yeah, she said that. Ay, nabuking tuloy siya.
Sino nagsabi nun? I mean, we have to be transparent.
Si VP Lenny Robredo, sort of, she said actually that parang hindi Pilipino. Tama po ba, Attorney Marlon?
Ang sabi po yata doon sa interview is that doon sa mining, kung papayagan daw po niya ang mining, dapat yung mga makinabang, hindi mga businessman, hindi mga Pilipino,
Hindi mga Pilipino.
I think it was parang typo lang siguro yon because we know.
No, she said it verbally, sis.
Oo nga, I've watched all the interviews, and I think it was just misquote or kasi parang you know how she talks, right? So anyway, whatever it is.
Moving on.
Moving. So what is your take, Attorney Marlon? Because it is very important na because alam ko itong peace talks na ito, even at the onset of yung presidente Duterte, talaga namang gumawa sila ng peace talks. In fact, I know for a fact that yung OPA was even going back and forth to Netherlands, no, to talk to Joma. Yung sa peace talks, pero wala rin nangyari. So what is your take on this one?
Tanungin po natin yung mga candidates natin. Sinong kakausapin natin? Yung chairperson po nila, si Kahiron, si Julius Hiron, patay na po siya. Si Kaoris, national spokesperson po nila, patay na rin po siya. Si Bok Villanueva, ang kanilang commanding officer ng Central Operations Lab, patay na rin po sila. You have to understand the nature of our peace and order situation before you say you are going for a peace talks. Kasi
Yes.
sinong kakausapin mo siya? Peace talks kasi they have something to offer on the table eh. What
Okay.
is that with CPP-NPA right now that would compel the government to go for a peace talks? Ma'am, paubos na po sila. Meron po tayong concept ng peace talks under NTF-ELCAC that led to the surrender of more than 20,000, and that is the local peace engagement process, meaning it is now the community asking their family members in the mountain to go down. At it is working. Marami na pong nag-surrender. Despite the years and years years of talks in Oslo and Netherlands, hindi po nangyaring ganyan. Pangalawa, dapat nung sinabi nilang they are agreeable to peace talks, what are they willing to give? Because when President Duterte opened up the idea of peace talks, they wanted to have a coalition government. Are you saying that you are going to
Coalition
give portion?
government.
Yes, portion of the government of the constitution just to accommodate the CPP, NP, NDF? If they want to talk about peace talks and they want to talk about the total disintegration of the armed unit, that is something that we can probably engage with. If they want a peace talks para i-lay down yung arms sila and that they will be reintegrated to the national, to mainstream society, it's something that we can talk about. But if they want to talk about concessions from the government, at this point in time, the enemy is running its own last leg. Bakit mo pa siya kakausapin at bibigyan pa ng buhay? Kaya nga sabi ko, if the context of the peace talks is for them to totally surrender and disintegrate their unit, that is something that we can engage. But if they want to come up with concessions, then I think that these presidentiables must need to be given a security briefing by our generals to really see where we are right now at the war against CPP, NPA, and DF, ma'am.
Yes, because I was so surprised, Attorney Marlon, because this is the forefront. I think peace and order and what is happening right now. Na hindi ko alam it was a very important question, hindi ba? And
Yes, ma'am.
we want to know what is their take on this issue, because napakalaking issue nito dahil we are talking about the national security here, no?
Yes.
And I was surprised somehow kasi alam ko kasi kami ni Arlene have been talking to a lot of alam mo, di ba, Arlene, medyo na-educate na tayo, no, tungkol dito.
We've been talking to former rebels, ganyan.
Yes, yes.
Na-interview na po namin dito, Attorney Marlon, pati si Datu Unad, yan. So, medyo educated na kami.
So, but what I'm saying is, aside from yung little that we know, we keep on saying because we're really not wala tayo doon sa agency nyo, I'm sure. Marami pang alam sila Attorney Attorney Marlon dyan, ano? But what we're saying, napaka-importante doon sa mga presidential boss na hindi nila alam yung issue.
It's either hindi nila alam or alam nila pero gusto nilang makakuha ng mga boto mula doon sa, I don't know, they're just 3% naman pero yung mga kumbaga kumikiling pa sa mga front organizations ng CPP, NPA, and I think.
Well, for the people, let's say for the people that knows, na alam na itong issue ito, then you'll get my vote right away kasi alam mo yung pinag-uusapan. Di ba? Unless
kaya nga pinag-uusapan natin on air.
Correct. And why is it very important? Ito na nga yun dito ko na ipapasok na yung bakit napaka-importante ng IPs EPANAW. It's because of this. Because even our presidential boss doesn't even know the real issue about it. Diba? So sino ngayon ang magpapresenta dito sa Congress? Hindi po ba, Attorney Marlon, kung hindi katulad ninyo na nakakaalam not only the issue ng NPA, ng CPP, NPA, NDF, it's also because kadikit po ito ng mga IPs. Tama po ba ako, Attorney Marlon?
And dito lang, singit ko lang, parang excited ako makita sa Congress, nagsasagutan si Congresswoman na Kulyamat, tapos si ang IPs EPANAW, di ba? Yung sasabihin niya, she's with the IPs, sasabihin naman nung kabila, teka, kami nga yun kami yung IPs di ba? So parang excited ako dyan.
No, really. And that is why it is so important that this party list will, see Attorney Mara, I want to see him in Congress. And
171 po, 171.
Oo, 171. 171 po. Alam mo, Attorney Marlon, Sir Attorney Basantog, wala pa po akong party list. Actually, I have a lot of friends na nasa party list. Marami po akong mga kaibigan. But syempre, namimili po ako talaga ng ano pong party list. Kasi iisa lang yan Napakarami ninyo. 178 as you were saying kanina. And you can only vote one out of the 178.
Yes.
Kaya napaka-importante po na pumili po tayo ng isang party list na talagang makakatulong sa ating bansa. And I think for me, isa sa mga party list na talagang pwede ko talagang i-push. Ito because it's peace. It's peace, and of course, my heart is really with the indigenous peoples.
O, 3 box ka nga sis, diba? May 3 box ka. May 3 box ka nga ng EPANAW.
Hindi. Because somehow really I'm very fascinated because I've always kasi rin ako sa heritage, and it's always you have to know kung saan ka nang galing. Ang napakaganda, Attorney Marlon, ang sinabi mo kanina na during the Spaniard times pa na talagang itong ating mga ancestral domain talagang kumbaga talagang kaya tayo na push out Kaya na-push out ang mga IPs, it's because alam po natin na maraming mga pare na silang mga may-ari ng mga lupain. Mas marami pa silang lupain at mas marami pa silang titulo at and all of that. And So, ayan na, napakwento. Pasensya ka na, Attorney Marlon. I'm so passionate.
Okay, ganyan talaga si Miss Vivi pag excited siya.
And I'm so passionate about this because I know how important it is. Okay, so ano pa pang pwede niyo pang idagdag, Attorney? Alam ko marami kayong mga advocacies and platforms no under IPs.
Siguro panghuli siguro ma'am is when we speak of food security of our country, okay? I
Yes.
think this is one of the cardinal issue moving forward of any administration on the question of how are you going to feed the Filipino people. Do we keep on exporting or importing a lot of our food for our table? The land of the indigenous peoples are fallow. Pwede siyang taniman. It just so happened that it's being held hostage, being a guerrilla base of the CPP-NPA in there. Kung titignan mo sa buong Mindanao, ma'am, there's a lot of areas where we could actually develop, modernize, and could actually help in the development of our country. If you give us the opportunity to have peace in the ancestral land, hindi po kami tamad na tao, ma'am. Magtatrabaho po kami. And you can see the effects, no? When there is peace in our land, we can now plant sustainably. Kasi ngayon, kung magtanim po kami, ma'am, konti-konti na lang kasi dadaanan ng NPA kukunin or pagdadaanan ng NPA, may subject siya ng extortion or pag magtanim kami sa isang area tapos nandyan bakbakan, bababa po sila magbakwit. There is no sense of normalcy. There is no sense of peace. But if you can guarantee peace to us, we can open the hundreds of thousands of hectares of the ancestral domain for the food security of this country. It's a promise, no, that will be a shared benefit to you, to our country and to the indigenous peoples.
Attorney Marlon, what would be the solution? Meaning, how do we attain this?
We continue with the track of the NTF-LCAC. Ang NTF-LCAC, they speak of the barangay development programs. That's what you do, no? You bring in farm-to-market roads, you bring in the knowledge, you bring in the capital that will teach us how to do modern farming. You give us the proper equipments because we have the lands. Okay. Now, also, of course, please continue with the advocacy of winning the peace. Wag po tayong mag-peace talks kasi babalik po na naman tayo dyan sa paulit-ulit na pagkamkam sa lupa ng mga IPs. Kasi pag once na may peace talks kasi, hindi magkaroon ng operations eh. So, andyan lang sila sa pagilid-gilid ng ancestral domains kasi yan po yung mga base po nila, base ng masa nila at base ng mga guerrilla fronts nila. So, di ba sabi ko nga ma'am, kung makuha po natin yung peace tuloy-tuloy po yan, then you can open up the ancestral domain not only for agriculture but for tourism. Ma'am, may isang area po dito sa Agusan na Norte, 11 falls, 21 falls siyang sunod-sunod.
I know that.
Oh.
Ang ganda niyan. Yeah, ang ganda-ganda niyan. Oo.
Pero hindi siya pa masyadong mapuntahan kasi hot area.
Ano yan pa? Yeah.
Oo. Diyan sa may...
So, hindi siya mapuntahan, Attorney Marlon. Hindi siya
accessible to tourism because it's a hot area. Daanan po ng NPA.
Ay, nako.
Wow.
Oo.
Okay.
Sa puting bato, ang gaganda ng view, parang nasa New Zealand, but hirap siyang i-promote kasi nga may peace and order situation. And many, many more, yung mga falls inside ancestral domain, hindi ko alam kung nabanggit dyan, ma'am, that we have more than 10,000 falls inside the ancestral domain. Sa book po na hawak nyo. Andyan po, no, the promise of a sustainable eco and cultural tourism. That is something that will generate a domino of economic enterprises from tourism, from hotels, from food and everything that comes with tourism activities. That is something that will generate so much that could add to our GDP.
Yeah, well, mentioning ko lang, Arlene, totoo yan, ano? In fact, we just had a tree planting about 2 months ago. And we went to Santa Maria, which is a resettlement area dito sa Porac ng mga ICAS, no? Ito yung mga na-displaced because of the Pinatubo. And so we went there for a tree planting at nakiusap ako sa DNR to help us out. And nagkaroon ng konting dialogue because that's what's important, because for them to know, no, for our government agencies to know ano ba nga kailangan. And something came up at isa nga ito dun sa meron nga daw na isang falls doon na napakaganda pero hindi siya accessible. So meaning kung ito, this is just a sample, na I am sure it is happening nationwide, no? Dito sa ating mga lugar, no? Na napakaganda ng Pilipinas. Pero hindi siya napopromote in a way because of the peace and order. So, hindi naman natin pwedeng itapon ito sa Department of Tourism because as you were saying, hindi naman pwedeng pagandahin or hindi naman pwedeng magbigay ng pondo ang isang Department of Tourism kung hindi naman madadaanan because of the peace and order. So, Attorney Marlon, tatanong ko lang, ano ba ito? Is it a military problem? O, kasi alam mo yan, alam naman natin lahat yan. But we're not. At bakit ganon? Bakit hindi natin mai-address?
Siguro ganito, ma'am. It is a recurring cycle of futility because the approach back then is peace talks. We give legitimacy to CPP-NPA, and our approach to the problem is military. But right now, if our approach to the peace and order problem is pro-development, like building roads, building farm-to-market roads, building sanitation station, building health station within the social domain, it asking the people na may hawak-hawak ng baril, bumalik na kayo because we have this opportunity. If we can sustain that effort, ma'am, especially the barangay development program, then I do believe that the peace and order problem, while it's also a military problem, will cease to exist because kung tingnan natin kung root cause lang yung pinag-uusapan and you address the idea of poverty, the lack of opportunity, then it's no longer a military issue. It becomes a simple government issue of delivering basic services.
Okay. Well, sige. Do you have a follow-up question, Arlene?
Yeah,
Meron ka ba? Oo. So, no. Kasi parang dikit-dikit kasi ito eh. So when Attorney Marlon was saying that, so are you for federalism?
We believe in the devolution of powers.
Devolution, yes.
Yes, whether be it in a form of federalism, but kasi sa halimbawa po ma'am sa Cordillera, what we are also pushing for is autonomy, the right to self-determination of the indigenous peoples. So if on the IP perspective, no, this is my IP perspective, not my political perspective, yes, we do believe that the indigenous peoples have the right to self-determination, including the interplay of their political lives. So pwede po yan. Ha? Kung nabigay po yan sa BARM, pwedeng ibigay din sa Cordilleras. It's something that we can offer also to other parts of the country.
Pero meron na, di ba? May autonomous region na yung, of course, the Cordillera, di ba?
Wala pa, ma'am. Ang tawag sa amin, Cordillera Administrative Region, but we don't have any form of autonomy. Unfortunately, noon po, yung last time na nagkaroon ng referendum, parang natalo po yung autonomy. I think that was 1998 or something.
Yeah, but then for federalism, kasi like for instance, sa Senate na lang po, meron na ba pang naging senadong Igorot?
Si Juan Flaver po, ma'am.
Is he an Igorot? I see. Okay, so but then pagka federalism kasi somehow marami pong magiging representative po sa Senate. No, pagka nagkaroon po tayo ng federalism at hindi na kailangan siguro ng autonomy kasi parang magkakaroon ka na ng sarili mong state, no, as we are saying it.
Naalala ko lang po, just to share, Attorney Marlon, no, because I've been in and out of Africa for more than 10 years, 12 years na po, and alam niyo po doon, bawat barangay na lang, bawat barangay, merong traditional ruler. So parang, kasi nga, inaano nila yung kanilang ino-honor, yung kanilang ancestry, yung kanilang pinanggalinan. So itong mga traditional rulers ito, almost as far, if not more powerful than the political leaders. Kasi talaga, kaya bawat, yung pong mga nakakapunta sa Africa dyan, bawat barangay tuloy, merong His Royal Highness. No, kaya kapag sinabi mong hari ako galing Africa, teka, anong barangay? Parang kasi lahat ng barangay doon, merong His Royal Majesty, His Royal Highness.
Mga datus.
Yes. Sa atin naman, yun yung mga datus. And I hope na dumating sa ganong parang awareness, yung pagkakakilala ang ating mga kababayan, lalo na yung mga susunod na mga henerasyon na, that when you say indigenous peoples, they are the original, the authentic Filipinos. So dapat talaga, sila yun eh. Sila dapat yun. So dapat talaga, sila yung iniingatan natin. Kasi at sila, yung nagbabantay, nagtataguyod, pumuprotekta nung ating, yung nga sinasabi pa kaninang, ancestral lands. So, yun.
Well, yes.
Tama po yun. Alimbawa, I remember this one speech kasi ng Prime Minister ng Australia. Ang sabi po niya is, kung saan pupunta po yung country nila, is reflected on how they treat the indigenous peoples.
Correct.
You cannot say that you are a first world country while the people, the indigenous peoples, are third world. Mga ganon. So I think that hand in hand on the destiny of our own nation, on the journey of our own nation, I think hand in hand is also the journey of the indigenous peoples. I think that we cannot be far off. No? Where we are is where you are also.
Correct.
Oo.
I mean, diba, kung saan ka talaga nanggaling. I mean, how can you go anywhere if you don't know where you came from, diba? Parang, I mean, as simple as that. Ngayon, gusto ko rin pong, I also want to tackle itong Human Rights Defenders Bill. Kasi medyo nahihiwagaan ako dito sa Human Rights Defenders
ba yan, sisiwag?
Title pa lang, napaka-vague. Parang human rights defenders, no? So, who are you defending? Okay, so yan, Attorney Mari, can you enlighten us a little bit about this Human Rights Defenders Bill?
Ang Human Rights Defenders Bill is an effort that was pushed through by the Makabayan Bloc, no, at sinakyan po ng ibang congressmen, kung saan binibigyan po ng special privileges ang mga human rights defenders ko, no, and that under the provision of this bill, kung violate mo yung kanilang mga sinasabing karapatan, ay ikaw po ay subjected to imprisonment of more than, not less than 6 years to not more than 12 years. And then, of course, fine will come with it. So, it is, parang ang ganda po nga ng titulo, no? Human Rights Defenders Bill. Who is against that kind of bill? But if we try to read the bill itself, it understand where it's coming from, try to put it, no, in the context of the war against terror, we see that it's a form of an exploitative bill that would try to protect, no, those who claims to be human rights defenders but are actually the human rights violators.
Grabe yan, sis. Grabe.
Okay.
No, in fact, follow up lang,
Yes.
is it true, Attorney Marlon, that only for human rights groups parang ang nare-recognize dyan sa pagsasabuo ng bill na yan, out of thousands of human rights groups dito sa Pilipinas, including, of course, kung saan ako miyembro, Sis Vivian, League of Parents of the Philippines, and I was actually in that deliberation sa Congress na isinasapwera kami ng mga nagsusulong na yan dahil hindi daw kami human rights defender, sort of say, sila lang ang human rights defender. So, anong karapatan nila para sabihin? That alone is already anti-human rights eh. Yung pagsasabi nila na wala akong boses o wala kaming boses. So, dyan medyo naiinis ako dyan sa bill na yan. Attorney Marlon, tama ba yon? Sila-sila lang dyan?
Ang definition po kasi nila ng human rights defenders is any member, any bona fide member of any organizations promoting human rights, no? Kaya halimbawa, ganito po yan, straight na lang po tayo, pag yung Abu Sayyaf, gumawa sila ng organization nila called Abu Sayyaf Human Rights Committee, will they be protected under this bill? Yes, because wala pong qualification. Ang definition po ng human rights defenders under the United Nations must be somebody who promotes and protects human rights in a peaceful manner. Tinanggal po nila yung word na peaceful manner nang sinulong nila yan sa Kamara.
Yeah.
So, kumusta na sa Kamara? It has been approved na ba?
It was, unfortunately, ma'am, it was approved, I think, in hindi siya deliberated under the plenary pero na-approve po siya. 200 po yung nag-vote, walang nag-abstain. At walang nag-vote ng no.
Baka hindi nila naintindihan, Attorney Marlon.
Feeling ko rin kasi kung
Kasi ganda
congressman
ng title
ka, kung congressman ka, sasabihin mo na ito kasi marami nang pinapatay ng mga human rights defenders, kailangan natin yung bill na to. Of course, you have to protect the people. You have to protect the human rights defenders. But this is the problem. When this bill was being crafted, it is on the presumption that thousands, if not hundreds, were killed by the state or with the acquiescence of the state or upon the instruction of the state na pumatay ka ng isang human rights defenders. Yun yung premise po ng batas na yan. Ang dami po nilang sinayad dyan. But I can tell you right now, based on my experience in learnings, upon filing of these cases kasi po ako, I was part of the legal team that defended President Duterte nung nag-file po ng writ of amparo ang mga groups na to claiming that hundreds of them were killed by the government. Wala pong isang kaso na nagsasabi na pinatay ng gobyerno ang isang tao dahil siya isang human rights defenders or because sa kanyang work as a human rights defenders. But that is the premise of the law. That is where the law is standing. So I said on one of my releases, this bill is founded on lies.
Okay, but can we explore on that a little bit more, no? Napaka-importante yata, and I'm medyo nasusurprise ako na kung paano ito lumabas, no, at na-aprubahan, no, sa plenary. But anyway, magko-commercial po muna tayo, Attorney Marlon. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
You can now listen to RJFM and DZRJ 810 AM from wherever you are. Just type in RJ 100.3 FM on TuneIn Radio, Streama, Radio Garden, and just type in RJFM for online box radio. For DZRJ 810 AM, just type in DZRJ 810 AM on TuneIn Radio, Streama, and Radio Garden. Happy listening!
Wise men say.
Hello, everybody. This is RJ. We are now level 2. That means you can go out and enjoy. Got a lot of living to do. Take note. We are reopening Bistro RJ for customers Valentine's night. You don't have to stay home all the time. Get out there and enjoy. We'll put together a great Valentine's show for you. 2 shows back to back. Elvis, got a lot of living to do, and disco dancing in one night. February 14, Monday. We have 2 reservation packages for your convenience. If you only want entrance and 1 drink, you pay 1,000 pesos only. If you want entrance with 2 drinks with a steak dinner, you pay 2,000 pesos. For Valentine's night, Bistro RJ opens early, 6 p.m. Dinner starts at 7 p.m. The Elvis show starts at 8 p.m. 4 Elvises. Douglas Masuda, Elvis of Japan, Bam Angping, runner-up Elvis of Asia, Noni Yambao, Elvis of the Philippines, and I will also pay tribute to Elvis. Right after the Elvis show, disco dancing. Dance to some Bee Gees, Frankie Valli, Earth, Wind and Fire, and ABBA music. We have young guest singers from the Roaring Twenties band, Kaya Munhi. So get out of your house and enjoy this Valentine's and celebrate life. With our Valentine's special, 2 back-to-back shows. Elvis, night, back-to-back with disco dancing. Wear your Nick shirts. Of course, bring your vaccination card. On February 14, Monday, make your reservations right now. Call or text 0906-221-1524 or go to facebook.com/RJ Bistro and Messenger RJ Bistro. By the way, we're gonna give you a free rose. This is RJ saying, see you Valentine's special RJ Bistro at Dusit Thane Hotel. So call 0906-221-1524. I repeat, 0906-221-1524. Right now.
Okay, we're back. Pinag-uusapan po namin kanina bago po tayo nag-commercial is yung Human Rights Defenders Bill, no? But before that, I just want to say hi to Doc Edwin Chanel Monares. Doc
Hi,
Edwin
Doc
nanonood po
Edwin.
sa atin. And of course, si Bear, all the time, bibigyan na natin siya ng loyalty badge.
Ganun
Kasi
ba?
marami siya nanonood sa atin. Hi to everyone and thank you for listening in. And yes, kay attorney, yung ating special guest, of course, si attorney Marlon Busantog. At yung pong kanilang, siya po ay tumatakbo no, under IP's Epanaw. Number 171 sa balota. Ayan. Okay, yung sa Human Rights Defenders Bill natin po. So ito po ba final na, nag-final third reading na po ba to sa Congress? Tapos na po.
Yes, ma'am. Pero at this point, wala pang tumatakbo na counter bill po niya sa Senate.
Okay.
Parang ano pa lang po siya, sa lower house pa lang siya nakapasa, ma'am.
Okay. So meron pa to tayo parang pag-asa para naman ito ay ma-oppose.
Kung ano man, ma'am, I think I'm comforted by the thought na kahit mapasa na ng Senate, papunta pa ng BICAM, kung aabot pa yan, and then the President would definitely veto that one.
Ito, yeah.
Aabot pa ba yan bago mag-June?
Feeling ko hindi na, ma'am, kasi kung idadaan pa yan sa Senate at idadaan pa sa BICAM and then we'll have a break because of the election, I don't think that the bill will be passed into a law.
Okay,
Yay!
so because kukulangin na ng oras, di ba po?
Also, tapos ma'am, baka tayo naman papailan natin yan ng unconstitutionality before the Supreme Court. So yung bill na yan, kahit matapos sa lower house, sa upper house, and if by grace of miracle, hindi siya binito ng President, we will still have the Supreme Court to fight for it.
Okay, well that's good news kasi minsan nakakabahala din na pagka sinabi mong naaprubahan dito sa lower house is medyo parang feeling natin okay na yan, all the way na yan, di ba? Up to...
Nag-try lang talaga yung ibang mga congressmen, Sis Viv, na i-push yan as if naman hindi pa alam ng mas nakakaraming Pilipino kung ano talaga ang kanilang mga totoong kulay. And matanong lang din natin si Attorney Marlon, tama ba na hindi naman na talaga natin kailangan yan kasi nasasaad na rin o kasama na rin sa ating konstitusyon yung ibang provision. I mean, we're already protected by the present constitution. Tama po ba?
Yes, ma'am. If the intention of the Human Rights Defenders Bill is to penalize people who will commit any other kind of violence against any person, kahit hindi human rights defenders po yan, that is ably punished by our existing laws. Other rights that they can exercise, like freedom of speech, freedom of expression, the right to criticize the government, that is ably protected by our Bill of Rights. Ang hindi po nakikita sa human rights defenders law is yung mga privileges na binibigay sa mga identified na human rights defenders. If I may, if I would like to start this one as an example, di ba po nag-file tayo ng freeze order against one of the organizations called the Rural Missionaries of the Philippines. Yan po ay organizations na mga madre, nag-ooperate sa Pilipinas, sa Mindanao, at ang sabi nila is they are categorized as human rights defenders. But, yung isa po nilang finance officer actually testified na almost 60% of the donations that is being remitted to that particular organization is being used to finance the CPP and PNDF. But under the Human Rights Defenders Bill, they have now the right to solicit any NGO, any government, and it could never be the subject of the Anti-Money Laundering Act. It could never be frozen by the government. So meaning they have a direct access to funds internationally without fear of getting caught by the government. What kind of provision is that? That is tantamount to eradicating the terrorism financing law of the Philippines.
So it's sort of it's conflicting with the anti-terror law. Tama po ba?
Yes.
So yun ang pang-counter nila. Yes.
Ito nila ng pera.
Oo. parang kumbaga, so there's going to be confusion. I mean, di ba, medyo magkakaroon na naman ito ng parang status quo in a way na well, hopefully andyan si Attorney Marlon to to look into this because kung hindi mo nasabi sa akin to si Zarlene, I don't even know anything about this. Kasi hindi naman yata, I don't know, it's not being publicized or they're just doing it quietly. Kasi hindi ko siya masyadong naririnig.
Oo,
no?
Yun yung sinasabi natin, sis, na na-overshadow yung excitement ng campaign ng mga napakahalagang mga issues katulad nito. So hindi na natin napapagtuunan ng pansin na may mga gumagapang pala sa dilim habang tayo di ba na-excite o nakikiano doon sa campaign ng mga ating mga kandidato.
Oo. Correct, Arlene. Gusto ko lang din just to pass it on, para gusto ko lang kasi medyo interesado rin ako doon sa IPRA, yung Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act. Oo. So it is still effective, di ba po?
Yes, ma'am.
Still, meron, ano pa rin siya, ongoing pa rin naman siya, no?
Yes,
how does it with the NCIP? Yung law na yon, yung NCIP.
Ang IPRA po kasi granted the authority to create the office ng NCIP. So kung wala pong IPRA, wala pong NCIP.
I see. So that was the law that enabled the commission. Oo. So
Yes, ma'am.
and then so well, ikaw, Arlene, meron ka pa bang itatanong where we still have about 15 minutes to go and I don't know kung ano pa yung may mga kailangan na natin itackle, no, with Attorney Marlon.
Actually, this is very close to my heart kasi itong issue na to at alam din po yan ni Attorney Marlon. Naging part po tayo ng very first human rights, nandun po ba kayo summit, Human Rights Summit nung December at dinaluhan ito ng 160 human rights groups, human rights defenders group at andun ang United Nations, ang kanilang special rapporteur was there and at least 18 embassies were represented there.
Wow, okay.
And naging parte po tayo doon and at nagkasagutan kami doon ng special rapporteur because kasi ang sinasabi niya kasi na ang human rights defenders group daw yung dapat matagal na. I mean like 20 years na siya daw. Bakit siya tuturuan 30 years na siya sa human rights. Yung mga ganong-ganong niya So sort of saying that all of us who were there, 160 groups kami hindi kami defenders ng human rights, which is talagang parang it was really uncalled for. So that is why actually medyo binarabara ko siya doon. Kasi nga, naglakas loob talaga ako na sabihin sa kanya na are you saying that ang mga nanay na mga kinidnap ang mga anak ng mga CPP, NPA, NDF walang karapatan na i-defend yung karapatan ng aming mga anak? And are you saying na yung mga namamatay sa bundok dahil nakikipaglaban sila sa gobyerno, sila yung mga dapat i-defend ang human rights nila, pero yung mga namatay na mga sundalo, hindi natin i-defend? Paano naman yung mga pamilya nila, yung mga ganon? Sis, talaga nagkainitan kami doon. Talagang yung nawala yung beauty ko doon, sis. Kasi nga, sa lahat kasi ng, forgive me, Attorney Marlon, sa lahat kasi talaga ng nagpapanting ang mga tenga natin kapag sinasabi nilang mas mataas sila, mas marunong sila, na sila lang ang may alam ng kung ano dapat ang ipasang batas, yung gano'n. At sinasabi nilang ating presidente, parang sort of talagang guilty of human rights violations, yung gano'n. So, and I'm glad that more than 100 human rights defenders groups were there to say that that we are supporting yung initiatives na ng presidente through NTF-ELCAC at sana magpatuloy ito. Kaya parang for the first time, sabi ko, I hope that you were saying that I hope you open your eyes and not just listen to a few groups that you've been listening to for the past 20, 30, 50 decades. If they have been good human rights groups, then there should have not been a need for us to form new groups. Kung talagang defend nila ang indigenous peoples, kung talagang defend nila yung rights ng mga kabataan, ng mga pamilya, edi sana wala na nagpo-form ng mga bagong human rights defenders groups yon. So medyo na-share ko lang. At actually, we wrote to the United Nations at pinublish nga natin ito sa UN High Commissioner for Human Rights kay Madam Michelle Bachelet, at talagang sinabi namin na inayag natin doon that we were disappointed, really disappointed on how the special rapporteur conducted herself during that summit. Yun lang.
Actually, ma'am, hindi mo na itatanong. I've also been with you probably since the beginning, especially, for example, the Hands of Our Children.
Yeah.
Andun po ako na legal counsel yung mga missing parents nung nagkaroon tayo ng Senate investigation. I was with them. We were the one who first filed cases before the DOJ. Ngayon din lately, we were the ones who filed cases sa disqualification ng mga kabataan, mga ganyan. And I share your sentiments regarding the perception of outsiders as if they have the monopoly of good intent, as if they have the monopoly of love of country, as if those people who are opposing their ideals are not propelled by the same passion and sentiment trying to protect the Filipino family. Totoo po yan, ma'am. Siguro hindi natin masyadong nakikita yung mga parents na nawawalan ng anak because they don't have a collective voice. So I think with your organizations and other organizations coming up lately, exposing and now having the courage to confront the CPP and PNDF, it is not easy to confront them. Ang galing nilang mag-cyberbully, ang galing nilang mag-counter-off sa'yo, sirain yung anak mo, your family bonds and your family ties. So it's hard. Kaya pagsasabihin mo na bago lang kami, because it just so happened that this is the right time, the opportune time for us to band and let our voices be known. At ngayon, hindi ka magiging human rights defenders. Who has the monopoly of saying that I am human rights defenders? Even the police officers in the military are human rights defenders.
Correct. Tama po yan. Kaya nga, pinall out po natin yung sort of parang ang yabang kasi ng dating sis during that summit. At maganda na hindi lang gobyerno ang represented doon, pati yung mga NGOs nga, kaya ang ganda nung summit na yun. At sana every year maging regular yun. Para the European Union was represented there, ay mas positive yung kanilang naging reaction. Kasi parang, we are open to inopen nila yung door for a meeting with us para lalo pa nilang marinig ano ba yung mga sinasabi. And that is good. At yun naman ang parang inaano natin dun sa UN na, tinan nyo, sinabi ko yun, buti pa ang EU, open sila na makinig sa amin. Kayo kino-close nyo na kagad the door. I mean, if you think that you have all the evidences, all the to say that the government ay may atrocities na gano'n, di ilabas niyo yung evidences, but we as the parents, the organizations here have the evidences. In fact, the parents are here already testifying that they've lost their children. So ano pa bang kailangan ninyo? So nakakatuwa na may naririnig ang ating boses sa gano'n. And si Attorney Marlon has been one of the brave defender talaga. Oo, sis. At yan talaga nakikipagbakbakan yan at nakikipag-away sa mga mga makaliwa, mga terorista. And I'm glad, that's why I'm very honored that he's here. Para mula sa kanya pong mga bibig, hindi lamang po for the indigenous people, kundi pati sa mga magulang na mga nawalan ng mga anak dahil nakuha na ng mga terorista. Yan si Attorney Marlon. One.
I know. We're so privileged to have him, especially because it is a very important issue. Itatanong ko rin kay Attorney Marlon kung what do you think is your chances with IP's iba now? I mean, where is it now? Paano pa ang magiging mga plano ninyo?
What we are doing right now is moving around and try to tell our people that this party list is created for you. I know that for the time being, you had been taken for a ride by other politicians telling you to vote for a particular party list. But it is, ang dami mong birth pains, ma'am, no? Kasi we don't have a lot of resources. We don't want to accept so much donation from mining kasi mga issue yan. So we are just generating support from grassroots. But we are doing our best for our IPs to understand that we are truly bonded, and this advocacy is created in order for us to put the issues of the indigenous people at the mainstream of the society, because we believe that your issues should also be discussed side by side with other important national issues. Our issues are also matters of national importance. Our chances, by the grace of God, ma'am, tiwala lang, ma'am, kaya natin to.
Pero Attorney Marlon, yung mga tribes ba natin, yung ating mga indigenous people, talagang kumbaga nararamdaman nyo ba ang suporta nila?
Yes, ma'am. We had been launching mga pang-apat ko na to or pang-5 ko ngayon. Sabi nila sa amin, wag na kayong bumalik dito ng mga kampanya, kami nang bahala dito. Concentrate on other areas. Pag once nagsalita ako about the CPP-NPA, tatimig na ako, ma'am, kasi tatayo na sila na mag-explain anong nangyari sa kanila, paano sila ginalaw ng CPP-NPA. And I mean, you will be inspired. I thought that I'll be doing the inspiring, but
Yes.
I'm inspired of their stories kasi, ma'am, pag ang isang tribal leader nagsalta ka against sa CPP-NPA, NDF, ma'am, naka-hit list ka na po. Ang dami nilang kasama dyan. Pagbabalik ka sa community mo, maglalakad ka ng ilang kilometro, papatay. Ma'am, just the other night, may binaril silang isang tribal municipal chieftain dito sa Surigao.
Wow.
And to see the courage of these people actually speaking up, it inspires you rather than you inspiring them. So I hope that we make justice, we do justice on what they are doing, on their sacrifices, and we can bring their genuine voices to Congress. I really hope, ma'am, with your help and those like-minded people, I think we can make you can make it a reality because the indigenous peoples deserve it.
And
Yeah, more than-
this is the essence of a party list to really represent your di ba, hindi yung katulad ng iba na fly-by-night na talagang itong IPs, talagang nire-represent nila ang puso ng IPs. So,
Well, that's why I was surprised when I found out na na-deny sila the first time. Kasi it is parang another injustice in a way na kung bakit sila i-deny ng COMELEC.
Yeah.
And
Ano lang,
hopefully, yes, go ahead.
Now, nag-apply kami, may hindi daw kami ginamit na form, yung manifestation of intent to participate. That's it.
yun lang.
Yun lang.
That's it. And now, we don't have to manifest because we are now running. We are part of the ballot. So,
Okay.
yun po. Just as simple as that, na-disqualify po kami, ma'am.
Small technicality,
No, but others naman are, I don't see that.
But we're glad they're already in.
Pero the Supreme Court, at least, di ba? Supreme Court yun. So,
Yes, ma'am.
oo. So, at least, buti nila, meron tayong Supreme Court that can really protect somehow, lalo na itong mga nangyayari dito sa COMELEC. And so, going on na May 2022, and hopefully, matuloy ang ating election. Ito na naman ako. And, medyo siguro because of the pandemic, Attorney Marlon, medyo nahihirapan ba kayo because of the pandemic?
Yes, ma'am. It's so hard to move from one province to province or flying back from Manila to Mindanao because of the restrictions. But sabi ko nga, kung yung mga IPs natin noon, iba yung level ng hirap, this is nothing. This is nothing.
Oh, especially in your area, di ba, in Ifugao, medyo and Benguet and medyo doon di ba? Parati silang, I think now it's another alert level 2, no?
Level 3 na kami, ma'am.
3 na. Okay, well, that's good. Kasi, ang alam ko kasi, some areas now are elevated or downgraded to alert level 2, no? So, especially NCR. So, how is it gusto ko lang malaman, no? Kasi because I'm really dito sa IPs Panao. What about your in NCR? Medyo nakaka ano ba kayo sa NCR?
Siguro ma'am, realistically kung vote base, baka hindi kami makapenetrate sa NCR because of the presence of big party list po, no? Usually run by, sabi niyo kanina, yung may pera at saka mga sikat like yung kay Tulfo, yung mga kayong Pinono, yung Agimat. And I don't think that we have a chance. So I think that for us, we concentrate where we believe we are relevant, and that would be the rural areas of the indigenous peoples.
Oh, what about in Central Luzon? Because in Central Luzon, it's the third biggest voters dito sa Central Luzon. Maraming IPs dito.
Yes, ma'am. We have also a campaign area, and especially sa mga Aita brothers and sisters natin and yung mga Dumagat, Remontado. Meron po naman, ma'am. Even though kahit pockets of areas, we try to reach them as much as possible. Siguro yung mga urban areas, it's not something that we can really speak of, no? Kung pag-usapan yung ancestral domain, parang it's a far-off issue. It's not really that as important to them. So, we hope na so mga areas na nakakaintindi kung ano talaga ang value, ang secretness ng isang lupa ng IP, we hope that we can generate support from a particular area po.
But then during this pandemic talaga, Arlene, di ba? Parang ako, I've been, staying now in the provinces because of the fresh air and everything. Yung urban living is somehow parang biglang, ang hirap pala rito, no, sa urban living, And so, parang nagkaroon na ng romanticism in a way of staying outside of this urban cities, no? And talagang yung mga iba, sabi ko nga gano'n, mas masarap pa yata sa bundok because because meron tayo mga communities na pinupuntahan ko, Attorney Marlon, zero COVID. Talagang the communities na mga ganyan, talagang zero COVID sila, and it is nice, no, to know that zero COVID. So last minute po tayo, final words po, Attorney Marlon, and rest assured talagang, kumbaga, ang party list ko na siguro ay ang IPs Panao.
171.
At ito na talaga. At ito talaga, at not only that, but I will make sure that I will share and what is an IPC Panao. And final words po, Attorney Marlon.
Ito po yung sa akin, if you remember the sunsets of Boracay, if you remember the rice terraces of Banawe, how beautiful and magnificent Batanes is, try to remember also where the people, their development, where they are, hand in hand, partnership. So when we speak of their issues, let us speak of them having voices.
Nakakaiyak, sorry. Talagang very emotional, nakaka-emotional. Ako din. Sorry.
Oo. Yan talaga. Nakakabasag talaga ng puso. Yan yung totoong word.
We want to thank Attorney Marlon Busantog. This is also close to our hearts, and really rest assured na talaga yung sinabi ko nga kanina, ito na yata ito na ang aking party list, itong IPs Panao. At talaga namang kailangan natin ang katulad ni Attorney Marlon Busantog dito po sa Kongreso, at talagang ikakampanya po natin sila in our small way. Thank you so much, Marlon. I hope you can...
Umiyak na ata talaga.
Okay, we'll see you again next Sunday, and we will have Attorney Busantog once again. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next Sunday. Thank you, Arlene.
Thank you, Vivi. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening.
Okay, so IPs Panao po, 171 sa Balota. Thank you po.
God bless you.